Oh yeah, just want to let people know that uh there are a lot of people that think that affecting things and saying different things does anything. I just want to tell them, no, nah, not gonna happen. At least in my book. There are a lot of times where I used to go into a why does he not have a parachute? See, it's a problem with video games. You can never judge them sometimes until you actually start playing them. So, like, I don't know, just understand. There are people out there that there are people out there that care, and there are also people out there that do a lot of very, very specific, very, very individualistic, extremely extensive things to make sure that things happen the way they're supposed to. Not like markets or insider trading or dumb stuff like gambling in your garage. More stuff like thinking about the situation at hand of certain people and knowing the certain things that people do that are very, very, very talented in what they do and how they do it, but also to know that eventually um also to know that sometimes missions, I guess, are sometimes left undone, you know? Just like it's like some missions are just left are good to be left unfinished, you know? Not to say that you should stop like orders or anything like that. But just like just like it's like complete the order,
Oh shit, sorry.
but just don't do it. I myself am talking to people in like Kim Jong Un, you know, it's like and all those other people that believe that they have nuclear missiles and all the other different stuff. Just saying, just don't do it. Just don't. Just try not to. Just like, you know what? You know what? If you ever try, just realize that there are people out there that do very, very talented things. Look at that. Look at that stunt. Look at that beautiful stunt. Just don't. Just try not to, and just don't. Just don't. Just like be a person and enjoy your life, because, and also Vladimir Putin, I know you got lots of plans for a whole bunch of people that you think are gonna come and they're gonna help you. Just don't. Just don't do it. Just don't. Just don't do it at all. I mean, just don't. Just don't do it. Just don't try. Just don't do it. Don't do it at all. And there are people that believe that everyone who are leaders are without sin, and when they talk they die, and all that other different stuff. Just next time you hear something like that, just take a couple seconds. Take a couple seconds. Step to the left. Step to the right. Snap your fingers. And then just don't. Just don't do it. Just don't. Just don't say it. You don't have to say it. It's not, don't worry about it. Just don't. Just don't. I can say it as many times as I want. It means the same thing. Just don't do it. Just set a grenade. You're just like, hey, I can take the pin out of this grenade and throw it. For what? Look at that over there. It's a beautiful butterfly. That butterfly is beautiful for a reason. To make you appreciate it. Look at that butterfly right there. Why does it do the things it does? Just put it down. Don't do it. Look at that butterfly. Oh, what is that? Wait. Look at, there's a dragon. It's coming. Wait, it's not coming to eat anybody. Oh my god, it's coming there to give you a certificate of appreciation. Best use of a hat. Thank you. Thank you very much. Just don't do it. You don't have to follow through with any sort of thing. Believe me, people have come and done stupid things and then left and then realized that they were dumb. Just realize that there are plenty of people out there. There are plenty of people out there. Just don't. You know, just don't do bad things. Everybody's gonna get Pokemon. I mean, what? Don't worry. Everyone's gonna get Professor Oak. Sorry for playing all those horrible jokes on y'all. I know. Really. That was a pseudonym. Just realize. Just don't. Every single time. Oh shit. Every single time you see somebody and you're like, man, that guy has a face. He does. He does have a face. Acknowledge that face. Wave hi to that face. Just be yourself. You don't have to throw bombs. You don't have to do nothing. You don't have to do nothing, Kim Jong-il said. Kim Jong-il's dead, man. You don't have to do nothing. I don't believe anything he says. You don't have to do anything. And no, don't remember. Remember this. People tell you to do all kinds of messed up stuff to each other all the time. They try and tell you that nothing's gonna work, and everybody's just the way that they're watching things, and if they do things, then they're gonna do stuff. No, people are gonna realize that they're a little bit panicky. Trevor and Michael have been exiled by Martin. We're gonna take a little joyride. Did I tell people I like John Try? Son of a bitch. That's why the motorcycle made you fall. God dang it. I was talking about that other guy. Realized there's like, just don't. Just whenever someone throws a grenade at you, just realize that they don't. Just realize they're sorry. Just realize they didn't know. They didn't know all that stuff was just right there. Completely, just like right there. And also realize that doesn't affect anything. All those certain things, all those different shrubberies, they imitate things that have happened, you know? But sometimes it's the reason why they grow. Just gotta put something there. Sometimes, not a big thing. Maybe it's like some firecrackers or some snapping pops. That's all you gotta do. Just play with snapping pops. If you want to throw shit at each other, throw snapping pops at each other. Both of you will be alive. You'll realize you have stuff in common. Just don't do it, you know? Just don't do it. God dang it, I flew so far. There are a lot of times when people believe in stuff and think that for some reason someone's going to come around and change everything. And it starts with you. It's the reason why my room is still messy. Because none of my mind is messy or anything like that, but I'm starting to realize that it doesn't have any effect over my mental capacities. It doesn't make me feel any better or any worse. It just appeals to someone who I would have company with, or decide that ever they would sit next to me if I ever moved my clothes. But there are a lot of different reasons why I believe in myself, and why I know that there are a lot of different people out there that don't understand that I decided to do things and say things that were very, very untrue sometimes. But it starts with you. It really does. It starts with you as an individual. If you realize that you have self-control in a situation, if you realize that you have a self-control in a situation, then you'll start to realize that there are people out there that, and not just people, there are lots of stuff, lots of things, and so many things out there that are just waiting to tell you that you're not the one, I guess. And no one was, because the one was the planet, and that was the joke. Because believe me, I went into a bunch of lore about the Matrix, and all it was everyone protecting the planet. So obviously that was what the one was. It's about protecting the planet and being able to realize that Captain Planet was a cartoon, and there are a lot of people that do stupid shit and try to leave the remnants of what they used to have around certain places, and sometimes they don't understand that what it makes is the realization that that there are people out there that care, and not only care, but don't want to hurt you. So next time you ever feel compelled as though you want to throw a grenade or shoot something in the air or try to scare something off because you believe that it's so evil, realize that it had that entire experience wrapped up in its head. It was ready for an emergency, no matter what. Every single time it was ready for an emergency. Not ready for a funeral. It was ready to take care of itself and get the hell out in case things got the way they were.
You should have heard me coming.
And a lot of times people don't take into consideration the fact of the matter that there are people out there that care about them, and there are people out there that really understand and know a lot of different things, and not only that, there are people that do a lot of different things every day that believe and really appeal to a lot of different people. And just because a Titan has a sunburn, no, it's funny. Just because a Titan has a sunburn does not mean you get to take his skin. So, realize there are a lot of people out there that do really well for themselves, and sometimes they don't understand that like, because of these kinds of games and things like that, people don't understand that this kind of game is like you lose things all the time. It's like, I forgot where my keys were, so now I have to steal this car and commandeer it. You come up with whatever excuse you have, and then realize that they all mean nothing. But realize too that those excuses themselves are probably meant for something else. The realization that people love people so much that sometimes they affected people and changed their reflexes completely, and they didn't know that, and they thought that there was sometimes always something that, oh, I'll survive. God dang it! I gotta get on the bike now. Bye, guy. There are a lot of times where I understood things about myself, and I still understand things about myself today. What time is it? Gotta go to bed soon. It's 12:46. I need to go to bed right now, but 18 minutes in, and there are a lot of times where I realized that there were people out there that could help, and there were a lot of times where I noticed that there were people out there that that really did the right things, and I noticed that there was a part of myself that that I really forgot about, and that someone had, and I got that piece, and it was merely just the peace of mind of knowing that people move on and go. There are a lot of times where I wish that I could know a bunch of different stuff. But the reality of that fact and me saying certain words or saying certain anything, there are a lot of times when I noticed that there were and there still are today certain people that they don't understand that there are times when when people thought I was, I guess, a machine, I guess. I guess that's what I thought the thought in their head was. And I had to let them know that that I wasn't, and that I'm not, and that I'm back, and that I'm myself. That I never changed, and what I saw was really a fear of mine, that I'd be left alone again. And I didn't realize whether or not that was a child or anything. And I didn't realize whether or not that was anything that I was trying to make or being able to try to be. But also realizing that there are a lot of people that try to take ideas no matter what. And no matter how they try to take your idea, no matter how they try to morph it into something that's theirs, no matter what they try to do, they're just making a market. When someone tries to say a bunch of stuff and a whole bunch of different things, they're trying to market themselves. They're trying to figure out what their audience, or whatever audience they have, wants. They're trying to pitch you an idea sometimes. Basically just trying to tell you exactly what you think, because they want to sell you something that you might want. And usually you should tell the truth about those things sometimes, because there are also a lot of companies that do a lot of good for people who are who are sometimes better off there we go, we lost him. Good times, good times. And they went around that car, now they're coming back. Yeah, gonna shoot him, shoot him, shoot him, shoot him, shoot him. God dang it, where do I go? Oh my god, and my car, then my thing has bullets. Go on, let's go. Yeah, go, yeah, go, 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 go. There are a lot of times when I believe that there were people out there that thought that I was joking, or thought that I was joking because of things that actually are bad and people that are actually bad. A lot of times they don't know what is in the way, though. And the more you try to push things like that, or the more you try to push anything like that, the more you'll realize that there are things out there that just aren't gonna allow it. But as soon as that thing's gone, people come in and are able to make differences and changes. with different things that make people go somewhere else and do something else. But also realize that if there are ever different things that people go through, and they're afraid that someone's trying to hurt them, because I've had that experience before with a mentally ill kid, and I've had that experience before with a kid that thought that I was trying to hurt him in some way because I was walking toward him. I realized that anyone with a mental disability will use any excuse to be able to say that. I decided to walk on the other side of the road when the cops decided to come pick him up. There are a lot of times where I believed in a lot of things, and I still do to this day. And but there are also a lot of times when people thought that they could take away something that they thought was mine. And they had to understand that I was trying to tell them that it was theirs. The times I noticed certain people in certain areas, in certain situations sometimes, that told me that that I was wrong for a situation, or wrong for something at all. There were a lot of times where I believed that that the good in someone would show through. But a lot of times that was just a sham, and they were trying to manipulate the people around him, trying to get them all on the same page, and it made me believe that there were a lot of people that didn't know that there were people for that, and they're called the cops, and realize that there are certain situations that people don't understand about anything about, and they have to realize that eventually, after everything is said and done, they'll have to go, because there'll be no reason for them to stay. And a lot of times I really do get to a lot of different things. And I really do say a lot of different things that I try to help as much as possible. And it's not because I just because I say it to be so, or that people think I'm some omnipotent weirdo or something. Because I'm not. I am gonna have a camera in a month, so it's a lot easier for me. Shit. Thought I was gonna grind. And I'm gonna get probably... Wait, no, my life is full. Awesome. I noticed a lot of times when I was by myself was when the times that I realized that there were a lot of people out there that like to put on a face. A lot of people out there that like to say a story, or some sort of story that they ever found, and try to tell you that they know what's going on and that they're better suited for the job. God dang it. But I know for a fact that this stuff just centers me. That's all it does. I don't exercise a lot because I know for a fact that if I do, then I'll get nothing but cramps, and I realize that there are not air bubbles, but there are certain things of like carbon dioxide because of the things that I drink and the air that I take in, and eventually people are going to notice that if they ever realized anything, that they were starting to slowly lose themselves sometimes. Realizing that if you take too many pills of Gas X, you can OD on it. That in some cases it can be very, very volatile. In some cases. Not usually my case. Not my case at all. But the realization that, I farted. There are people out there that, that do a lot of really different good things. And a lot of those people are going to be coming here. And, I don't want to be the dude that just calls it. I want to be the guy that stays around and makes sure that people know what they're doing. Because I've experienced bad things like that before. And I've realized that not only were there situations that I realized, but there are situations that I was okay with and I understood, because there are a lot of people out there that still believe that there is a reason for all of this mess. And I know the reason, but I know exactly the reason. And there are a lot of reasons why people think that there are, there's something that, that they don't get, or something that they don't understand, you know? And realize that this game itself is programmed to work on you. Every program is based around you. Every single one. It's not because of anyone giving anything up or putting anything away or doing anything.
Oh shit.
It's because there are people out there that care. And there are a lot of people out there that don't understand that sometimes caring isn't always enough. Sometimes doing things about it. Sometimes saying things about it. And sometimes realizing that there are kids out there that don't know what they're thinking sometimes. And the simple fact is, they got affected by something. They did something together that they probably thought was stupid or dumb, and because of it, a little kid decided that he was going to go ape shit on someone. And that's probably what happened. Because that girl's skin wasn't just pale for a reason. And those kids weren't talking about random lame shit because they were being manipulated by someone. They weren't being manipulated by anyone. And that much I know. So, kids, if you ever figure out that not the thing that was bad that happened, but realize that y'all probably at some point ingested the drug acid. And if you wanted to keep it completely and utterly safe from anyone else that ever did that, realize that that's probably the reason why y'all are feeling the things that y'all are feeling. Also realize that no, you shouldn't have took it. Kids. should have realized that eventually synthetic acid and synthetic things, and that will give people things, it's what activates certain parts of their brain sometimes. That's the reason why they're probably feeling the way that they're feeling right now, or believing the things that they're believing. Granted, if whether or not they're being manipulated on camera to do or say something or make something not true, I believe, and with my heart, whatever heart that is, I don't know if I have one because I've never seen it on an X-ray or any other ray. I've also realized that there are a lot of different things that people really don't get to understand sometimes. And there are certain plants that secrete a certain chemical that it probably was around, somewhere around the school. And weed itself is, when mixed with different chemicals, can give the same, what's the word? Can give the same chemical properties as acid, but have volatile effects sometimes. And that's probably the reason why those kids might have experienced that. I've studied it. I know it. It's the reason why I took the drugs in the first place. Because nobody knew that I was just trying to gauge the reaction. That's probably what happens with illegal weed sometimes. They try to, what's the word, bump up the chemicals because they believe that there's some sort of industrial pesticide that the people who have legal weed have. One that has no taste or scent or something like that. It's the reason why they thought that the stuff was so good. And there are a lot of people out there that sell certain things that are really, really stupid, that don't understand that there are a lot of different mixtures of fertilizer and pesticides that can actually cause people to hallucinate. And through these different types of things, they don't understand that these different types of things that they use, they're causing them to lose their mind. The reason why they're causing them to lose their mind is because it's starting to exhibit sort of features or different types of symptoms of what would be, I say, the difference between believing that something is gummy or believing that something is purple. It's like believing that something is something rather than believing what its color is. Basically mixing up all those different kinds of signals, and that's the reason why sometimes things happen. And people realize that that's the reason why I quit smoking weed, because they don't know how to manage their pesticides. So I realized that the fact that there are people that are growers that don't know how to regulate the amount of pesticides that they put in their weed. Or don't realize that the amount of water and or stupid things that they put inside of their weed or spray and then the weed soaks it up. They don't understand that that stuff can hurt people.
Whoa,
especially people who don't understand that there are people out there that that kind of know this stuff already a little bit, and they've noticed the way that people are acting. So just gauging reactions and staying by any kind of emergency at all. That's the reason why. They just know it's happened, and that's the reason why. People won't believe them, so they don't tell them. If you ask them, they will usually tell you, unless they're going to an emergency or coming back from one, trying to relax and center themselves. So there are a lot of pesticides in certain weeds, marijuana, and certain marijuana plant strains that they don't realize that that's the reason why those FBI things happened. Whether it was a rival business, I don't really believe it was a rival business, because why would they do that? They're in California. They're not all across the nation, and the market isn't that big yet. So, it's dumb to think about, but it's also dumb to not think about, because people are out there sometimes hurting people with synthetic chemicals and trying to ruin people's lives. This is always sucky. This always sucks, because you kind of have to get into the nitty-gritty to be able to understand this stuff. You have to understand that people are out there trying to do different things, and there are people that are constantly competing over things. And whether they're in gangs or they're in businesses, they're always looking out for number one sometimes. And they're looking out for their own business and their own businesses. What's the word? And I may be thinking about the 80s or something like that. But understandably so, I don't think I'm actually thinking about it like that. The realization of fact is that there are a lot of people out there that deserve legal weed. And just because you have... Oh wait, what's the word? Just because you have the a certain what's the word? Just because you have a certain initial thought sometimes doesn't exactly mean all the time that that people need to do certain things.
Oh shit, sorry.
Or you need to do certain things, or that people are going to be doing things that you want them to do.
Bullshit.
So realize this certain fact, this certain inevitable fact. There are people out there that make sure that people have a great time no matter what, so that cops and people can do their job. They talk to every business. They talk to every person. They've given in plenty of information, and it's not just from the NSA, because the NSA did all that legally. They didn't take in anybody's names, and they blotted them out whenever they released the information. And no, they didn't remember, but understandably so. It's all out there in the Library of Congress. If you ever want to look it up, you can look up the on the internet, and then realize they have it at the Library of Congress. There are a lot of times where I believed that that people were out to get me somehow, or people were out to understand me, I guess, and I didn't want them to, because it's stupid not to do that. But understandably so, I didn't want them to know that, because eventually I'm probably going to be surprising them at some point. Surprising the sheesh out of them. But also understandably so, there are a lot of people that don't do things, and they don't understand that if they let it go, or let it ride, or let it go on whatever they want to, they'll realize that they'll only make more money if they keep letting it ride. I know this is not talking about a market at all or anything like that. I'm talking to specific groups sometimes. Specific groups who decided that they were the ones that were going to tell people exactly how to be moral and just. Those specific groups decided that they were going to take over certain things and become guilds and have businesses and all those other different things. Realize that now they have a responsibility to everyone. Any one of their customers. And that the more people don't like the experiences that some people had, the more those things, those respects and those things get lessened and lessened and lessened. There are a lot of different reasons why people don't understand certain things about themselves, and I've made an entire life about myself of not going to college and not doing certain things. I realized that I'm good in a certain subset. No, I'm not that great at making digital things. I'm okay at making digital things, but I can render them pretty easily, and after I draw them in 2D form. I realized that I have, oh man, I have a job I want, and I have a job that I really, really want, and that is to be a 2D renderer of different environments for 3D artists. Or maybe just characters, because that's usually what I'm actually the greatest at. But, I mean, I'll probably have to work on all that stuff before I actually go into what I'm doing. What, the heart stars and the horseshoes? There are a lot of times where I believe where, people weren't going to be there for me, or, people weren't going to be around for me, or for anything that I ever wanted. There were a lot of times where people thought that they could take things from me, and they had to understand that there was just not enough. There just wasn't enough. There wasn't enough of what I was actually trying to make for myself. There wasn't a thing that I was trying to make that wasn't going to be there for me whenever I decided to be the person that I am. And I decided to make the things that I actually wanted to do. I'm not saying that I didn't have any help, because I did. I had a lot of help. And there are a lot of reasons why I believe that if it's your responsibility to do something, if it's your responsibility to get something done, then get it done and try every other way to be able to understand something else. And also realize that you should step outside of your little dome every once in a while. Not your little dome, but your dome, your outside comfort zone, your realization of thought. It'll make you have different thoughts and completely, unbelievably be able to understand the realization of fact that I don't like being outside sometimes. I realized that a lot of times there were people out there that thought that I was some sort of like just on time, man. I was on time all the time, and that's because it took practice. I kept practicing and kept practicing at every single thing that I ever did, constantly, all the time. If there was something that I could do, that I could help with, that I could do something about, that I could make sure that there was something or someone that I could help with it, then I helped. And that's the reason why I noticed that there were changes in things. And people didn't understand that they were basically trying to push me away the entire time. Not because of the things that they were doing, but because of the things that I know they were doing. And every single time I tried to be able to come up with something, it was always something that I had left behind, or something that I literally just decided that I was going to do. There were a lot of reasons why I believed in certain things and knew different things. And the reasons why people are going to have to understand that the people that I understand, the things that I understand, the situations that I get into, they're going to have to understand that some of that stuff is really not fictional. All this character and all this person is based on a real person's life. You can tell the difference between what this is and how it is. It's all aged. And this paneling basically was... This is all about the 70s, man. All these people moving and shaking and running around, trying to save the world, when in actuality it's just a video game. But it's all based on that. It's the reason why these people used to live in little caddy shacks sometimes, Literal Caddyshacks, and they'd wait for people. Constantly. Business. All the time. And hardly anything would ever come. And you have to understand that the reason why California and the way that a lot of people believe in certain things. The way they do. And, there are a lot of times I believed in myself and knew a lot of different things about myself. But understood that there were people out there that didn't have it good and didn't have the ways that they were supposed to be. This is the 70s. Graffiti was just being made. People were just starting to realize different things. People would smoke right next to garbage dumpsters, not realizing that they were inhaling toxic and nauseous fumes. Roads weren't exactly all the way paved all the time, especially in new developments, or even old developments, because people didn't realize that they were even there sometimes. People had garages for cars they didn't have. Sometimes they would sleep in the back of cars. Back of abandoned cars. All these Easter eggs sometimes show you a part of history. And it's not the video game itself that's showing you. It's the part of yourself that you should realize. People would cut down trees because they were dead inside. And they never thought they would come back.
Over here, you frickin' dick.
Set up barbecue pits for things that would never happen. Meaningless structures that they thought were meaningful. Because people themselves didn't understand that there were a lot of things that people didn't understand at the time. People believed in the occult back then. They were so superstitious. So much so that they had... what's the word?
Hey, you there! Stupid! You ain't gonna be walking out of here.
Oh my God!
I ain't no city boy. Yeah.
I got $10.
Look like shit.
Tire fire pits.
Had enough of you assholes on welfare fucking with me.
Constantly everywhere. Especially in Detroit. And a lot of different places. That people just dump their shit. All their trash. You can say a lot about the people who were in trailer parks that kept all their shit somewhere, or kept all their stuff somewhere. But you can understand that at least they kept it. Old piers. Broken literal ships that are now petrified driftwood. Or even trailers that just went up in flames and no one moved. There were so many things bad about what happened in the 70s. And how people were angry that no one was investing any money in anything. Because they were all keeping it circulating and gambling. Everyone thought that they were making all of their ends meet. And everyone decided that they were going to do the things that they wanted to do. And that's the joke about the KGB and the CIA. Because there were a lot of people still dying in Russia and a lot of different places back when a whole bunch of other different people were in power. And that's not salt or sand. That's cracking rock. It's good to have coral reef next to your area, next to the place that you're at, even if it's further out. But realize that if the sun got to it, then over time it used to boil that water sometimes. It's the reason why no one went into the water sometimes, because there were a lot of different chemicals and a lot of different things that people used to take care of. This isn't a metaphor for America, but it's a metaphor for a certain time. And that's the reason why sometimes I play it a lot, because there are a lot of people that don't realize that there are so many different things out here that used to be, and sometimes, in some cases, still are. Especially in other parts of the world. That's the reason why I like this game. It's because it not only teaches you how to shoot a gun, and it doesn't really teach you how to shoot a gun. It just teaches you how to have reflexes and different things like that for a paintball. Or laser tag. There are a lot of things that are out here that are the 70s, that are the reasons why people really didn't understand that they were almost eating themselves. They didn't like anything else but themselves sometimes. They would go into town to sell things, they would come out, and that's sometimes where people actually learned that there were a lot of different things that were happening. A lot of different people that were disappearing. And it's because there were active cannibals in California in the 70s. Active cannibals. They used to eat humans. They were in cults and fucked up organizations. There were a lot of different fucked up people that I didn't know of and never will know of. Because there are terrible, terrible individuals. They used to use people, throw them away, and then try to eat them. It didn't just happen in Africa. And there are a lot of times when I believed that there were people out there that deserved something. And a lot of people that helped and realized that I knew that stuff and I could get it out eventually. But a lot of times people don't understand that those things are all true. There were a lot of people that were eating people, and that's pretty much where I end this. Realize where things went south, and there are people out there that sometimes are still trying to do the exact same thing, and what they don't really understand is that they never had me. They never had anything. And they don't understand that that's not one of my fears. Be yourselves and understand that there are people out there that help and want to help. And also understand that there are people out there that believe in what you are and how you are. And that know what you're doing. And realize that if you don't introduce yourself to those people, or if you don't ever try to introduce yourself to those people, realize that that bridge or that ship, it sails. Realize to get out there and realize that there are people out there that care and matter to you. Realize that there are people out there that understand what you're going through and understand what problems you had and understand the terrible things that happened. Because in some cases, they had just come from that. Or in some cases, they had lived a life that was terrible and hurtful. And then realized and came out of it and realized that what they were doing was completely and utterly insane. And they decided to change their lives for the better. And they had so much motivation because what they knew was the fact that eventually they would realize that that was their future sometimes. And the more that I say, I guess, the more that I realize that there are a lot of people out there that really, truly, and utterly deserve something. But the real situation is that people don't understand that I'm not the one that they think I am. I'm not the man that they think or judge me for. I am a pervert. Understandably so. I am not a sex addict. And I don't whack off sometimes because I don't want to keep that reflex around and try to... It's weird. It's really weird. But it's not that weird. It's not really that weird. The most personal things that I know are there are people out there that are very, very good at their job. And that's the reason why some people are actually even alive today. And that's usually the only reason. But realize it. If you notice, there's no Palmaya flag. Oh my God. This is just a video game, so it's not a big deal. Be yourselves and understand that there are people out there that help every single day. And if villains ever made it to the TV, then there wouldn't be a TV. Have a good day, and you are your own one-man metaphorical personal bomb squad. You can defuse situations before they happen, and you can make sure that there's a brighter day and a better tomorrow. Sometimes just by walking away.